We are now live. Awesome. Angela, welcome. And I'm so glad and looking forward to this conversation. So folks, right. So those, for anyone that's watching it live, appreciate you putting some time aside and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Anyone that's watching it on playback, watch back because it's accessible to anyone beyond the lifetime. I hope you enjoy it. Ask any questions. Feel free to add any comments. We'd appreciate it. And during the live, if you have any questions, by all means, just put them in the comments and we'll address those as we go through, whether it's during the conversation or towards the end. So for those that don't know me, my name's Chris Howe. Business name is Your Results Coach, and I work with business owners. My micro niche would be a recruitment business owner. My areas of expertise are working with people to be alcohol-free or control their relationship with alcohol, lifestyle, mindset, and business. And the majority of my work is done on a one-to-one, bespoke, tailored basis. Now, Angela and I crossed paths a few months ago now. I actually attended one of Angie's workshops and we're going to get into some of the detail around this shortly, I'm sure. But by way of introduction, I will hand over to Angie. Angie, can you just give everyone a little intro, what you're up to, what you're about? That'd be good.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a certified Wim Hof instructor. It is what it says on the tin, without kind of using the cliche. But I always say used to say I've got two lives, one before kids and one after kids. And if you've got kids, you know that those two lives are very different. And now I say I've got two lives, one before the cold and one after the cold. And those two are very, very different. And for me, I've gone on this kind of transformational journey since I started the Wim Hof method with the breath and the cold. I felt it transform myself. So then I became an instructor of level 1, where I learned the science behind it. And then I went away and did level 2, which is learning about the power of the mind. And as Wim says, the only limits that we have are in our, the sky's not the limit, the mind is the limit. And we can, actually conquer a lot of things like climbing the mountain for 4 hours in the snow in just your shorts and what have you. And then kind of as I've kind of gone, I've been super, super lucky to have some really amazing opportunities to kind of fill my experience. And what I'm really passionate about is passing that experience on to my community, to people that I work with, so that we can get you to, it's a journey. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle, this Wim Hof method. And you go, oh my goodness, that's why that happens. And this is why I'm a bit more common. So I've kind of, I'm helping individuals. I help groups like the group that you came to, and then adapting it to, I suppose, individuals, leaders, teams, and this, that, and the other to build up, to bring out the strengths of the Wim Hof method, to apply that to daily life, I suppose.
Awesome. So there's a few things that you've just said there that I'd like to get into. Science is definitely one. But just before we move on, I want to stay on you just for a second. So you, in your bio on LinkedIn and from our conversations, obviously you've got a corporate background, and you've just mentioned there that actually you like to then use the work that you're doing to influence people in business. So is that part of your Wim Hof approach, or is that as a tag on? What about that part of your world, Ange?
So I would say that. So I was corporate. I've led a corporate. My last job was with Grant Thornton. I helped their clients with their business growth strategies. I got made redundant. I've got a big recruitment background, so I have this corporate background. And I started the Wim Hof method whilst I was still in corporate for myself, for my own anxiety, which we can go into kind of further down the line, and that kind of side of things. And for me to grow my confidence, to help with imposter syndrome, to manage different things like that, and navigate my own business, is I have used the Wim Hof method to connect with the right decision, to connect with overwhelm and all that kind of stuff in my own business. And it was only recently, probably in the last 6 months, and people are saying to me on retreats, can you help me with my business? I feel like I'm drawn to you as a coach for this. And I'm going, no, I don't do business anymore. I do Wim Hof things and this and that. And it was like, it's getting asked a little bit too much now. I need to look at it. And I was like, I've just literally gone with 20 years business experience. That's then, and then this is now. And actually what I'm doing now, and have been doing over the kind of last 6 months, is joining those two forces together is actually really powerful and quite it's unique probably for a Wim Hof instructor to have those two things together, and that's where I'm finding where you know the little bit of magic is actually and it's unfolding very nicely.
Awesome. So yeah, I think, look, I can relate to that, to be honest. I mean, I was in the recruitment sector for a long time, so over 20 years, and I did exactly the same thing, taking on this coaching practice on a full-time basis. I ran for the hills, to be honest. I've done my bit. There were reasons for it, because there was a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety at times, and I ran for the hills. And then it was only, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago, I sort of got to the top of the hill and I thought, why am I giving up on all that experience that I've built? You know, it seems foolish, really. So it's very interesting that you've had this. I noticed on one or two of your posts recently that it's almost like you've had this eureka moment, and I can completely
really.
Well, you can see it in what you're writing, to be fair. So let's talk about why you moved into this whole ice warrior Wim Hof thing and you left the corporate world. Just bridge that gap for me so we can understand that a little bit more, please.
So I would say that I have had probably anxiety all my life. It's something that I have managed through healthy eating, through mindful practices, yoga, running, whatever that might be. And I've done a lot of different things. But anxiety is something that I've just said I have anxiety, and there's various different reasons, and we can again go down that path into what that anxiety, why that shows up in my life, and how that actually then moves on into my limiting beliefs of I don't think I deserve to be loved. I don't think I'm enough, and this is kind of, it's not a healthy way to be. But I've always had this, and then when lockdown started, this anxiety and these limiting beliefs, they just became a huge spiral for me. And I was going down this spiral, and I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning, and I wanted to just hide away from the world. And I remember the day of coming across this Wim Hof method, and I was hiding in the loo because I've got 2 kids. I've got 2 dogs. Well, I had 1 dog at the time. And in the loo, nobody can find you and bother you in there. It's a safe place, you know? So I was scrolling on my phone, and I came across this Wim Hof method, and it said, try it. It's going to help anxiety. This anxiety is like, okay, I'll try anything. It's cold water. It's breath work. Try it for, I think it was a 7-day trial or something like that I did. And within 2-3 days of doing this breath work and cold water, it was like an Alka-Seltzer in a glass of water. With this anxiety, it literally came out of my body. And I've always had it. And when I say anxiety, I do this because I feel it here in my upper chest and my shoulders, and I'm like this. But I felt it just come out. I was like, you said we could swear. Fuck, that is incredible. I always check that, because some people actually would prefer if you didn't swear, and I'm like, okay, I will try. But that's part of my journey as well, is that this authentic self. And having this confidence about being me is like, I do swear. I rock up. I don't rock up in a suit. I rock up as me and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, so this anxiety came out of my body, and I was like, okay, and this is going to see me through lockdown. And I swear to God, I came back to this every single morning, because this was going to help me to show up as a mum. It was going to help me to show up in that corporate job where I had to earn a living to put meals on the table. I also had a husband who had his own mental health issues, 2 kids to homeschool, and all this stuff. This was going to see me through lockdown. Now, don't get me wrong, they would grind me down throughout the day. It's not taking the edge off everything, but it was something that actually it was incredible. And I think Wim says you will always remember your first ice bath, and you will probably back me up on that. You will always remember your first ice bath.
I'll never forget it, Ange.
What experience that was. And so for me, and tell me if I'm kind of going off at a tangent here, for me, that was something that then went on to, like, between 6 and 8 weeks, I started to feel more changes in myself. So this was for me. So I am perimenopausal. I'm in my late 40s. I have all these things going on with my body and my emotions, and I felt that these flatlined. So the Wim Hof method does a lot with hormones, but it doesn't put estrogen into your body. But it helped flatline these mood swings, these dark periods of depression. It helps just really just flatline. And then what happens is that the ripple effect with other people in my life were noticing this, and they will become happy around me. So I became a lot happier. I became more present in the moment. I became stronger. So this strength has a huge kind of impact on me. So I started, and I could do, you did the press ups at the session. I could do 10 press ups. And then very quickly, this went to 20 to 30 to 40, 50, 60 press ups whilst holding my breath. And I was like, fuck, that is incredible. And when you start to feel this physical strength, you start to feel the mental strength. You start to have clarity. You start to have, you know, when I said about these limiting beliefs, it's like, oh, poor little Angela, she's not enough. And I don't deserve. All this was like, actually, I can have this conversation without getting defensive, without feeling, you know, that I don't deserve to have this say. And I would have these factual conversations. And I was like, fuck, where's this confidence coming from? This strength coming from? And that's really kind of my starting point, I would say.
That's interesting. So, okay, so we've got this underlying tone of anxiety. You've mentioned that to me before, to be fair, and it's not a great feeling. And of course, you know, yes, there's lots of activities we can do to help to suppress it, but you've got to find root causes and so on. But what I'd like to, I think what would be a good place to move to now, Ange, is if we explore the science. So you've had some considerable life-changing benefits from doing what you're doing, which is fantastic. But I think what it'd be quite helpful to understand is just, I've mentioned this to you before, just before I finalise this question. I posted about the workshop, and there was a picture of me in the ice bath grimacing, and
you were great.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Done it. And there was a comment on this post. I'm happy for people to put opinion on posts. It's really fine as long as it's done the right way. And he was challenged. He challenged the whole ice bath breathwork thing as a fad. It's what people are into now. He came from the northeast, and the sea was brown, and you don't see people, you know, swimming in that sea coming out all invigorated and feeling good about themselves. So he was quite negative because there is quite a trend really in terms of that. This, I'll say, it's not just, I know Wim Hof isn't just ice baths, but you see a lot of people online that are getting an ice baths and you know, and promoting the benefits. So, but from the workshop that I did with you, there is very clearly some science, and the activities that we did on that workshop, I came away from that feeling invigorated is probably the right word to use, to be honest. And I think the breath work was I found probably the breath work more fascinating and more interesting in terms of what I felt, maybe more so than the ice bath, to be fair.
Yes.
But I then, in that post, I made a point to say, look, there is science that sits behind cold water therapy and, of course, breath work that says that there are physical and, of course, mental benefits to this sort of activity. So I think for this conversation, and certainly for folk watching, I think it'd be brilliant if we could carve that up a little bit more, really, Ange. And if you could just explain, you know, you see people getting into an ice bath and it's uncomfortable, but there's a reason for it being uncomfortable. So over to you. Let's walk our way through a little bit of the science that sits behind this whole Wim Hof approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for your people that are kind of naysaying it is that yes, there is a huge trend behind the cold water and breath work, actually, for that matter. And there is a lot of I suppose, why would you do it? And it's also working with a professional. So with breath work, everything is fine until it goes wrong. And do you know what to do if it goes wrong? Yeah. And if somebody has a reaction to the breath work, whether it's emotional or physical, do you know how to respond to it? Yes, I know how to respond to it. And the same in the ice bath. If you have somebody with a headache who has it getting into the ice bath, then you pull them back. You don't kind of just, you'll be fine. You see your way through it, because this can have like huge detriment. So it's actually knowing your stuff if things don't go right. So I would say that in terms of the caution, not caution giving it a go and please have a go at it, because it's breath work and it's cold water. It's not extreme, but it's super powerful tools, and the powerful tools have powerful effects. In that I'm working with people, you know, a lady with stage 4 cancer who is actually, you know, not stage 4 cancer. She's just monitoring it now. People with brain tumors who have shrunk their brain tumors and to that they don't exist anymore. You know, people with autoimmune diseases that don't have these autoimmune. So this shit works. But what I think, if you look at the breath work and the cold water, is that you can do them in isolation. But if you do them together, they give each other superpowers, is the best way to explain it. So if we look at the breath work, if you do the breath work alone, this is going to boost your immune system. It's going to influence your autonomic nervous systems, the nervous system that, you know, our heart pumps, we breathe, this, all the stuff that we do automatically, it improves the efficiencies of all that. We regulate our nervous system. So the nervous system, so many people, and especially clients that you're working with, will potentially come to you because they are in that sympathetic nervous system a lot of the time, and they don't know how to get out of that. And what happens is, with the method, with the breath work and the cold water, is that you activate that sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight, if you don't know, like the running away from the bear, or you're trying to get out of the house and your heart is pumping, and we need the sympathetic nervous system, but we don't want to live in it. So what we're doing with the Wim Hof method through the breath work and the cold is we're igniting that sympathetic nervous system. We're putting some adrenaline into the body, but then what we're doing is we're teaching that system how to deal with that stress by doing a parasympathetic breath hold or breath, to then be able to train that nervous system, so that when stress comes into our daily lives, we are changing the neurological pathways, we're changing our physiology to be able to deal with this stress a lot better, which then goes on to, we don't need to at the end of the day, we just need to calm down for an hour. Therefore, I'm going to have a glass of wine because I just need this nervous system to shut down and to be relaxed. You know more than any that that's a vicious cycle, but that's how it can feel. But if we can train that nervous system to not have to need that outside support, that we can just connect with that breath. And I'm a living proof that my anxiety has been so bad that I have not been able to leave the house. I have been so consumed by what people think of me that I actually don't want to go out of the house, and I don't want them to see me. And that is like a polar opposite to where it is now. I stand at the side of the sea and do a horse dance in my swimming costume, and I couldn't give a fuck who sees me. And it's that, you know, I mean, you've done it and you're like, oh, this is so weird. But does that answer your question? Because for the ice baths, is that when you go into an ice bath, anything under 14 degrees, you're getting 250% worth of dopamine. You're getting 530% worth of noradrenaline. And noradrenaline follows the same paths as ADHD drugs and antidepressants. So if you can tap into these superpowers, and you are, you know, there is periods of anxiety, depression, ADHD, whatever that is, and you can use these tools to maybe work alongside medication with a view to taking those off. And I'm not medically professional, I'm not advising people to do that, but if you can use these tools to add these benefits, why wouldn't you?
That makes sense, and thank you very much for that explanation. Yeah, I think that I just want to talk about the breath work was a surprise to me. And so
yes,
I meditate, yeah. So I meditate. So that's not what I would deem to be breath work. However, there is a small proportion of working with your breath, and wherever your breath is, as part of your meditation practice. So when we came to do breath work at the workshop, I was like, well, I can do this. It's no problem. It's relaxing. That's all great. But I have to say that the process that we went through on your workshop, I felt there was almost a feeling of euphoria by the time we'd finished that. Like real, almost like your chest was out. It was weird. You were relaxed, but your chest was out. Your shoulders were back, and the ice bath is coming. So I guess you're working your way and gearing yourself up for that. But following that breathwork session, because we did quite a long time. I think we did about 40 minutes or so in the end.
Yeah.
Really, really, really went to task, and we were holding hands with people that went by the side of us, and sort of having all that connection. And I'll be honest, I'll be brutally honest, and I like to share this because it's really important. If someone had said to me, "Do you fancy doing a breathwork workshop, this Wim Hof method?" I don't know, go back 7-8 years ago, I'd have just laughed. I'd have taken the piss, to be honest, Angela. Honestly, I would. And I do see this when I talk to people, even with my clients, when you start to talk about things like what you do with the ice therapy, the breath work, meditation, and other positive psychology interventions, aside of physical exercise, and getting outdoors and having a walk, a lot of these things people can be really skeptical about. And I'd say that men are probably, in my opinion, are more skeptical of these sort of things than females. I believe that. and the breath work, I wasn't sure what to expect, if I'm being brutally honest. And I was just thinking it's going to be a bit like meditation, but doing it where it's a powerful exercise, it's effective. I think we describe it. It's a cardiovascular workout, really, which meditation, the way I meditate, certainly isn't. And I found that powerful. I found that really powerful. And I think for anyone out there is skeptical and just sees meditation or any yoga or mindfulness as a bit hocus pocus, I think you've got to try it to truly understand on a long, not just once. You've got to, a lot of these things there's a compound effect to it, and it takes practice to really start to feel the benefits. But that breath work was tremendous. And I one of my clients just recently, he went to just a pure breathwork workshop, and he just said he'd never done it before. I did some breathwork with him, but not like what you do on one of his sessions. And he went and then booked a full breathwork session, and loved it, and absolutely just felt quite calm once he'd done it, actually. So with the breathwork, let's just talk about that a little bit more, because I honestly I found that amazing.
Yes.
Is that something that is it better for it to be, in your opinion, better for that to be a daily practice? Is it something that needs to be incorporated into certain times of the day, pre-exercise, pre-ice bath? What's the best way to make that breath work have an impact?
So I can hear now the people that I work with, the people in my community, because I'm literally, your non-negotiable is your breath work. Literally every day, do your breath work. It doesn't matter if it's one round, 4 rounds, you do your breath work every single day. And if you come into me going, I'm anxious, or I'm feeling this and this, are you doing your breath work? No. Well, that's where you start. So in answer to your question, is that the breath work is a better practice to do first thing in the morning, because you haven't got any food or caffeine in your body, and your body's not busy doing anything else. It's at its most relaxed state when you're in the morning. So for me, I get up and I go, I take myself out of the room, because if I do it next to my husband, he's like, oh, the fuck you doing? And so it's a lot more relaxing for everybody if I go somewhere else. So I have a nice space where nobody disturbs me. So if you are you don't have those boundaries in the morning, that's your first step to set the boundaries. 20 minutes I need every single morning when nobody disturbs me. And what happens with that breath work? Yes, you're right. It's a cardiovascular workout. And a lot of the kind of Western diseases are around our cardiovascular system. So if we can give that cardiovascular workout every single morning, then that's amazing. We are also kind of, so if I go away on holiday and I come back on a Jet2 flight and people have been coughing and sneezing, and I will be doing my breath work 2 or 3 times a day so that I don't get sick, because so you can actively influence your immune system and boost your immune system by doing this breath work. If I've climbed a mountain the day before and I'm feeling like, I'm 40 odd cracking on, and if I feel a few aches and pains in my body, I take, that's somebody coming in it, and they were told not to disturb me, right on cue. And I climbed the mountain and I'm feeling a little bit achy. I've got this inflammation in my body. If I do my breath work, it takes the inflammation out of my body. So imagine if we can actively take inflammation out of our body. If we have asthma, which is an inflammation of the respiratory system, if we have, Crohn's, which is an inflammation of our gut, or whatever that is, if we can do this, what can we heal? Arthritis, all these things that we can do by just doing this breath work. So I use it as a prevention tool every single day. I also use it as a cure. So yes, I still get stressed. Yes, my head still comes off with my kids. I am not by any way a saint, but I go, oh my, okay. So what do I need? I need to connect back with my breath, and I use it as a cure sometimes in the afternoon, just to bring me back down to earth, to go, okay, now I can move forward with the day. It gives me a huge opportunity in the morning. I'm going to come back to your female masculine thing in a little while, but it gives me a huge opportunity in the morning to go, how do I feel today? Rather than I get up, I make a brew, I take my kids to go, and then I end up in a big heat going, high five, made that one. How do I feel today? So do I feel like, oh my God, my energy just isn't there, and I do want to hide away from the world a little bit and cocoon myself away and keep myself safe? And so therefore I can either communicate that to people along the way in the day, or change my day to reflect that. Or sometimes I'll feel like high energy and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to smash it and this, that, and the other. And then that's what happens. But it gives me a chance to go, how do I feel today? So all those physical health benefits, the mental health benefit of calming my mind to be able to be more connected to myself and connected to other people as well. But yeah, there's enough there, right? In terms of the breath work of why you should do it. You do it at the beginning of the day. I think it's important to understand as well, when you're doing it, when you're doing the big deep breaths, it's like, oh my God, this feels icky. This feels like stress. You are activating that sympathetic nervous system. So if it feels too much, it's important that you slow that breath down. And often when you get into breath work, the breath is a reflection of what's going on in our lives. So if I'm rushing, I've got 4 rounds of breath work to do, and I'm going to get that done in 20 minutes and it tick. My breath retentions, which are my calm, my parasympathetic, they're not as long. If I go, do you know what? I'm going to just take this. And with every single breath, there's no force, there's no effort. Then my breath retentions, they are like this. Yeah. And that is a reflection of my life. And that it shows you that and this is when we go back to that first question you asked me, is that how is this method connected with business? Is that when I do things fast and I'm putting my posts out and I'm, talking to my clients, and it's very much a machine, it's shit. Yeah. But when I am literally putting 50% into me, the 50% I put into my business is absolutely brilliant. So it shows you that the quality of the breath shows you the transferable of quality of the stuff that my output.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, whilst we're on breath, because we've spoken about this already. So you did a post a while ago now, and it was around, a lot of people are posting videos of getting into ice baths on social media.
Yes.
And you highlighted a potential mistake that people are doing in terms of the preparation. A lot of people were literally diving into the ice bath and literally hyperventilating once they were in the water. And your post was around advisory post. It was quite a good post, actually, just in terms of, look, can I just offer you some advice?
On my bandwagon, just got my soap.
Well, do you know what? It wasn't like that. Honestly, I didn't read it like that. Maybe other people would, but I read it as thinking, fair play. Yeah, you're an expert in this field. This is your bag. And there was an olive branch there to say, if I can just give you some advice, do this. And that was all linked around the fact that, this preparation, the breath work before you then just dump yourself into the ice bath was so important. So just share something on that for me, because I think that'd be really, really helpful for people that are watching, just to take that away if they are an ice bath person or considering doing it.
Yeah. So the breath work that we've just been talking about with all those benefits is the Wim Hof breath, is the Wim Hof breathing. It's a pranayama breathing that Wim's adapted. So it's a breath work. And this breath work is a preparation to prepare your body and mind to go into the cold. Yeah. So when you first start, you kind of go, right, I'm going to do my breath work. And then shortly after, I'm going to do my cold exposure practice. And gradually, as you go along, you kind of I just do my breath work every morning. My cold just comes when it comes. It doesn't really matter that I need those together. But then the breath that you need to get into the cold is separate to this breath work. Yeah. So when you get into your cold, whether it's a cold shower or a cold tub or a cold sea, a waterfall, whatever that is these three things is that you need. The first one is to relax your body. So if you're going into a cold tub or whatever it is, and you're like this, all you're doing is you're reinforcing fear. You're saying, this is a scary situation and I'm scared. If you relax your body, you're telling your body, this is a scary situation, but I'm absolutely fine with it. And I'm looking this fear straight in the eye. Yeah. So this is relaxing your posture. And then finding your focus. So often when people come to my workshops, some of them, they're there to do it for the Insta, or they're doing it for other people, or this, that, and the other. And they're all looking around and, you can get in the ice bath. Is find your focus. This is for 2 or 3 minutes. This is for you. And you need that focus, that internal focus. And it's important after the ice bath that you keep this focus. So whether it's in your bathroom, whether it's a toothbrush holder or whatever, or you're out in nature and it's a flower, it's a tree, or a lot of people actually use me when I'm helping them, and they're like, I'm looking at you, you're going to see me through this, and you're my focus, which is fine. And the third thing, which is super, super important, is the connection with your breath. So when we talked before about sympathetic, when you get into an ice bath, your sympathetic nervous system goes, it's cold, it's cold, it's cold. Yeah. And it's literally run away from it, run away from the bear. This, you need to get out of it. But if you counteract that sympathetic response with a parasympathetic, where you take the breath in through your nose and then slow out through your mouth, you have a parasympathetic tool. And what will happen for the first 30 to 60 seconds is these two nervous systems start to have a little battle. And it's kind of, okay, so I'm keeping with this breath. I'm getting into the cold. I'm really breathing. Yeah. And then once you've settled into the cold, after 30 to 60 seconds, you can probably relax that breath. And then you can close your eyes and connect with the cold. And this is where you find Wim says the cold is your teacher. And a lot of people go to me, what does Wim mean by the cold is my teacher? And you can't actually articulate it. You can feel it when it happens. And you kind of go, actually, this is what it means. And it's not even a sentence that you can actually say, but it's actually, now I know what he means by that. So those three things is relaxing your posture, finding your focus, and using your breath to get into it. You do not do the Wim Hof breathing in the cold water, because as you experienced in that Wim Hof breathing, you can go lightheaded, you can go dizzy, people can pass out. Passing out isn't, is fine, but it's not something we're aiming for. But it's not, but you don't want to be doing that in water. You don't want to be doing that while driving. So this is really, really important that message is very, very clear. And that's what I think I got on. I see people doing it. I also see people, I can be a cold water therapy instructor. And yes, we want the message to get out as many people as we possibly can, but powerful tools have powerful consequences, and, they can have powerful, benefits. But if you don't use them correctly, then you can have, everything's fine until it goes wrong. And
100% cool. No, that's good. Now, I wanted to pick up on that because I remember the post, and I see lots of ice baths coming through my feed. And now every time I see them, I'm watching to see if what you've said is actually happening. And I'll be honest, 9 times out of 10, it's generally someone just diving in and tensed up and then just breathing the way through to get comfortable.
Yeah. So just another thing on the back of that, which I do jump on, is like when people go, I did a 10-minute ice bath. So why did you do a 10-minute ice bath? Because you can get all the benefits that I've just spoken about for half an hour. You can get all those benefits within 2 to 3 minutes. So why are you doing a 10-minute ice bath and putting it on Instagram? There's 2 reasons why they're doing that. And one is, I've done longer ice baths. I've done 20, 30-minute ice baths for mindset training and all that. So you're doing it for mindset training. You certainly don't put it on Instagram because you need to be there. Or you're doing it because you've got a massive ego and you're a bit of a bellend. And
brilliant.
So there's 2 reasons why you do these. The 2. So mindset training, yes, fine, do that in your own space. But there's no reason why anyone would do more than a 2 to 3 minute ice bath.
Brilliant. So if you're not doing it for mindset reasons, you could be a bellend. There you go. That Angela Bentley told you straight. Brilliant. Love that. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's start thinking. You've just mentioned about time in ice bath. Just one more thing on ice bath. Temperature. We've discussed this before. So
temperature. Yeah. Okay. So if you are going from warm to cold, this is great for training your nervous system. So if you're on holiday, for example, and the pool is cold, but actually it's really not cold, it's just because your body's warm, this is still fine. You're still going to get some help with nervous system training and this, that, and the other. If you're what you should be aiming for is like at least 14 degrees. So you don't need to go super cold with this. 14 degrees is absolutely fine to be getting that dopamine hit. You're getting the noradrenaline, all this kind of stuff. Once you start going below 10, so you're heading towards 7, 5 degrees. This is when you start getting the real superpowers of the anti-inflammatories, the production of white blood cells. Yeah, the anxiety release that stills the mind because you can't focus on anything else except for, I'm in this cold bath. So I would say start gently. And it's called, if you look at the Wim Hof method, it's called Breathwork Pillar 1, Gradual Cold Exposure Pillar 2. Mindset and commitment pillar 3. So it's gradual cold exposure. The the hints in the word, it's gradual. So start at 14 degrees and start working your way down. I'm going to do 30 seconds, then I'm going to build to a minute, then I'm going to do 2 minutes. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Good. Explains it. Right. Let's weave our way through the title of the live. I always try and add it and business. So we've got the Wim Hof Method and business. We've already spoken about your background. So you've got the corporate background. You've done your stint in recruitment, obviously, as well, and dealt with recruitment people. And you'd worked as a sort of a growth consultant. Is sort of the way I've got it as well. And most importantly, you've just started to now associate that there's probably a healthy link for you to be doing your Wim Hof work as well as coaching and business. Now, my own service, it straddles the two. I want to make sure that alcohol's always my starting point. That's always it. And most of my clients come, they haven't all got a problem. You know, some people will come to me, they've not drunk for 2.5 years, but they like the fact they can lean into me and we work on other things. But I always want to make sure that if we're working on self, then by default, we make sure that that's going to have some, an impact on the business side of your world. So most people I work with are business owners wanting to do it. So what's your plan? What's your plan with, so you're a Wim Hof level 2 instructor. So you're a very experienced instructor on that basis. You've got your corporate background. You are already now getting people tipping you the wing to say, maybe we could do some work coaching around business as well. So what's your plan there? How's that going to pan out for you, Ange?
So for me, I think as a coach, like you've just said with yourself, is that you have to be, you're only kind of 3 or 4 steps ahead of the people that you're actually coaching yourself. And for me, it's important that I keep pushing myself. I keep challenging myself. I keep learning. So, climbing the mountain for 4 hours in the snow in just my short was a huge, achievement for me. And when I look back, this massive imposter syndrome, they were all young guys, yogis, no kids, blah, 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 blah. And I looked and they're all better than me. Actually, when we did it, the amount of work I put into that, I flew up there. There was no problems at all because of the preparation that I did in the right way. And I think for me to carry on setting myself challenges, and I'm looking at swimming an I Smile. I'm looking at various different things in terms of what I do for myself. So and then I can challenge other people. So for me, it's like, yes, I am kind of looking in terms of helping teams. I think for me, ice baths for corporate teams, the whole kind of vulnerability about being in your swimming clothes around those people is a big issue to start with. So, the hands in ice exercise has lots of benefit, the different breath work that we can use, and the transferable skills of those things for the Wim Hof method in terms of mindset, self-belief, self-awareness, self-authenticity is a huge one. I'm going out to Amsterdam in a few weeks where I will be train the trainer, so I can train other people to be Wim Hof instructors, and there's a few of us that have been selected globally to do that. So I'm really proud to have done that. I've worked with Wim. I want to work with Wim again. And so my Poland trip that I've done with the mountain is that now I want to take people out there. So I've got a group going out in December where they've put their faith and trust in me to take them up the mountain to have that journey. And yes, it is a physical preparation for that. And every single person that's booked on is completely shitting themselves, but they don't know whether they're capable of it. I know that they're capable of it, but they're like, can I do it? What preparation do I need to do? So I want to take those people up to that mountain. And I think a lot of it is that I want to get less busy. Less busy, and I do practice what I preach. My husband said it. He said, you're like a professional rugby player. You practice what you preach. I love what I do. I put it into my everyday life. It helps me grow as a person, and I want to just help anybody in which way I can to. And we said this at the beginning, if we can help one person today to go away, I'm going to go and give that breath work a go, or I'm going to go and have a little go at a cold shower. If one person does that, it's a win for me.
100%. There's a ripple effect there, though, don't forget, Ange, because every post that we put out, every conversation on LinkedIn Live that we do like this, every person you help, hopefully there's a ripple effect anyway that they're sharing the good words. So great. Right, let's summarize that. I think we haven't really touched on Wim himself. Obviously you work with the bloke, you've been trained by the chap, and he's, effectively he is a celebrity nowadays, really. There's not what he is though, isn't he? He's a lot, there's not many people that don't know, when that name's said, a bit about what he does. But as a person, you've mentioned some stories to me before. He sounds quite a quirky chap, actually. Just for folk that may be interested in that, just share a few snippets for us.
So for me, Wim is and he's an amazing guy. And if you ever get the chance to go and hear him speak, to hear him what his mission is from the horse's mouth, then I would completely 100% recommend that you go and listen to him at least once, just to hear what he says. If you can understand what he's going on about, then please let me know. But you just kind of go, yeah, I want to be him. But he's sometimes all the time he's very honest, and he speaks from his heart. And sometimes people react to that in different ways, but everything comes from a good place with Wim. He wants to change the world. He's on a mission. He says, I was born a missionary to do this, and he completely believes it. And he'll rock up on stage and he'll have a hole in his t-shirt, and he's got some shorts that I don't know that have been around for 10 million years. He doesn't actually care. He's got no value on belongings or anything like that. It is all about kind of getting this message out. And for Wim, the biggest thing is the breakthrough science to back what he is preaching, and he is making that method. But he's a lovely guy, and if you ever speak to him, he remembers every single person that he meets, and he's so incredible like that. And if you say he's quirky, I think one of the things I remember we were sat around and we were talking about the first study, the Radboud study, which was the breakthrough science study, where people started to take notice of this crazy ice guy that used to put, himself in ice. And they said, right, okay, so you've done this experiment now. We've proven that it works with you. We want to give you some people to go away and train in Poland with this Wim Hof method. And then we're going to bring them back and we're going to do the same experiment with them. And they said, how many days? How many days will it take you? And he just was like, and I just looked at my hands and I went, I have 10 fingers, 10 days it's going to take you. So he said, I had no idea. I just had no idea. And I think it took about 4 or 5 days actually, eventually. But I think when you look, there's Wim Hof and then there's the Academy. So the Academy is now a corporation. It's making money, and you see, how are people making money from, helping people, instructors or whatever that is. But, you've seen my passion. It's about, and a lot of the instructors are like this. It's about getting that message out, to get Wim's message out there. And Wim is now, he kind of, does his travel. He does a winter travel and a summer travel, and that's how you can work with Wim. And I've worked on I worked on the summer travel last year, and it's well worth just, if you have got the time to do that. But now he's working with paraplegics, the people that are trying to help these people and trying to influence how that can help them. People, other mental health organizations, and he's trying to get to the root of these people. And he says, himself, I'm up against big pharma in this, and he's trying his best. And this is why sometimes we're not shouting from the rooftops, because big pharma is squashing it down. But same.
Good. Right, time wise, this is landed pretty spot on, Ange, to be honest with you. So I always like to wrap up really in terms of a bit of a summary, really. So before we do that, so if anyone wants to get hold of you, make contact, maybe even fancies doing one of these workshops and understanding more about this whole Wim Hof method, how can they track you down?
Yep. So I'm on LinkedIn. I have a website, theicewarrior.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on all of those stuff. So please come and talk to me about which route is best for you, either a retreat or a workshop that you did, Chris. I think that you get all the basics there, and the idea of that workshop is for them to go away and be able to put it into your own daily life and be able to do that confidently and safely. Obviously, if you want to there's a private event, a keynote speaker, or want to work with your team, then that's something that we can bespoke to you, like you do bespoke stuff for your clients, is that's some teams want team building, some want high performance, some a bit lost in where they're going, and if we can bring them back together through these really powerful tools, then we can bespoke that as to how that works.
Awesome. And you are Angela Florence Bentley on LinkedIn?
I am, yes. Thank you.
Good. Anyone watching, lurking, thinking about working with a personal coach? My name's Chris Howard, your results coach. So reach out. I'm on LinkedIn. This is where I am now. Website, www.yourresultscoach.co.uk. Nice and simple. That website, dead simple, and tells you what to do. So just to summarize, Ange, three takeaways from the conversation that folk can take away in action. So I'm going to say the first one, and it's only on the basis of we'd had this conversation before, and it's about, I liked what you'd said about the three areas around just being the preparation before jumping in an ice bath. So doing it in a controlled manner, doing it with focus, and just making sure that you take those breaths so you prepare yourself for the ice, for a gradual drop into the ice bath. I liked that, and I think that is something, based on the fact that you did a post quite a while ago, that's hopefully something folk can take away that are ice bath fanatics. So what else can we give to folk today as our summary? What else?
I would really like if you could just try one round of Wim Hof breathing. Go onto YouTube, go onto any Wim Hof breathwork and try it and see the effect that has. It's just and see how that's not going to be a good thing in your daily life. So I would definitely say breath to connect with that. And I think the third thing which is combined is, if you remember there's three stages. So to connect with the breath, to exclude the outside world, and then set your intention. So the intention for the day, perhaps the intention might be to do the 2-minute ice bath. The intention might be to absolutely go and smash an interview. The intention might be I'm not going to drink today. But if you can do those three, connect with your breath, exclude the outside world, the noise, and then really set your intention for that day. It's a powerful tool.
Awesome, and something that needs to be trained and learned as well. But you're right. If you get on YouTube, there's opportunities to try some of this stuff as well. So good. Well, look, Ange, appreciate you joining me for this conversation. I really hope it's been useful for people. And like I say, if it impacts one person and encourages one person to either reach out or just do something good for themselves and be better, then job done. So have a good rest of the day, folks. Anyone watching on Watch Back, if there's any questions, just fire them over, put them in the comments, and I'll come back to you. All right.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you.
No worries. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
And done.